What's good, y'all? I want to highlight my brothers real quick. So I was watching my man Soul's channel a couple days ago, right? Or it was today. Shout out to Soul, man. If y'all aren't familiar with him, I'm gonna leave a link to his channel down below in the description. My man has been putting out fire content since like 2016 out here on YouTube. Some of the best get your mind right, get your soul right content I've ever come across, right? I love this dude to life. So make sure y'all check him out, right? So this idea came from watching one of his videos recently where he was talking about the reason why the polarity that's needed for a lot of relationships to thrive just isn't there. He was talking about like essentially the nice guy syndrome, where a dude will shower this woman with affection and gifts, and she looks at him and she's like, oh, he's nice, but he's too nice, right? It's almost as if it's too easy for her and she'll lose interest rather quickly. And then he's left standing there holding the bag like, yo, I did everything right. Why am I not seeing success in this area of my life? And so while he was talking about relationships in that video in particular, of course, this principle applies to everywhere in life, because the energy that we show up in one area of our life is affecting us everywhere else. There's a famous saying, they say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So when it comes to not just our interactions with women as men, it needs to come down to how we are carrying ourselves through all of life. This energy that he was talking about in the video, you could say that it is the energy, right? It's the chaos of the conscious creator. We need to be able to keep people on their toes whenever we step in the room. We need to be able to walk in and immediately shift the atmosphere. The same way a principal shows up at the threshold of a classroom while all the kids are bouncing off the walls and they're dancing on the desk and all of that, when the principal shows up, they immediately straighten up, if that principal is walking in their authority. As men, as human beings, as image bearers of God, we possess a level of authority, but a lot of us don't walk in it. If we're honest, a lot of us are passive. If we're honest, a lot of us are waiting for life to dictate to us what it is we're going to do. We wait for certain situations. We wait until when, right? We're always pointing at someday, when things are right, when I have X amount of money, when this person is in my life, after I've done these certain things, then I'll be able to. That's not how we move. We can take our cues from scripture, right? We can look at how God moved. We can look at how Christ moved and draw what energy it is that we're supposed to be moving in. God looked at a formless and void earth and said, let there be, and there was. But the way that occurred was because God became what it is he was calling out, right? I don't believe that God had to create everything out of nothingness. I believe that God is the essential energy. God is the essence, the beingness behind all of existence, right? When you break down every material object down to its tiniest quantum particles, everything is simply energy moving at various rates of speed. Everything from solid matter to light, it's all particles. And I believe that God is that energy. God is that essence, that spirit inside of it all. And so when God said, let there be, and there was, the reason there was because God became it. God literally embodied his creation. Now, of course, I may not have any objective proof to, validate that claim. However, I don't think you can really prove the contrary, so it really doesn't matter. So how do we embody this energy, right? Because again, being passive, waiting for life to give us permission, waiting for other people to approve of us, it's not the wave. We cannot continue to be yes men. We cannot continue to wait for life to allow us to do anything. We have to be able to look at our lives, see the chaos that is, and declare what it's going to be. And not just declare it, but then become it, because that's how creation really occurs. Creation occurs inside the embodiment. So because creation occurs inside of the embodiment, we're not seeing the results that we want to see in our life because we're saying one thing, but then we're doing another. When our being aligns with our doingness, right? When our words align with our actions, and this is the first point I want to hit on, we have to be men of integrity, right? Because when our actions match our words, things align so quickly, so quickly. Like, I can't begin to explain to you how fast your world will come out to meet you when you set in your mind what it is you're going to do, who it is you're going to be, and then immediately begin to do that. Right? One simple practice that you can really start right now to become a man of integrity, right? Not integrity in the moral sense, but integrity as in the sense of workability, right? If a car has two flat tires, it's not workable. Its integrity is compromised. If a shirt or a sweater has a hole in it or it has a loose thread, its integrity is compromised. A lot of us are walking around with compromised integrity simply because we don't know how to move as men. We don't have an idea of the energy that we are called to embody. And so we wait for life to really drag us around and tell us what it is we're going to do, instead of, again, looking at our situation and saying, hey, let there be this. Let there be more of that. Let this person be in my life. And when we say let there be, we have to become it. All right. The second thing that we really have to become, if we're going to embody this sort of chaotic God creator energy, we have to be disciplined. We have to become men of discipline. And I don't mean like militaristic in how we move. I just mean, again, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and having things done by when you say they're going to be done. Having a consistent routine and schedule, right? Being dependable in the sense that when you say a thing, people know that it's as good as done. And along those lines, being who you say you are at all times and not shifting your identity from room to room. One of the greatest compliments I could ever receive, right, is meeting somebody on the internet, right? Meeting somebody online, you exchange conversations for some time. Eventually you meet in person and they say like, yo, like you're the same face to face as you are, in our chats. Our energy should not change just because we're in a new room or different people are in the room or we're in a new place. When we are who we say we are that no matter where we are and no matter who's around. That's the kind of energy that shifts atmospheres, because if you become a still point in the matrix, right? If your energy is constantly swinging from extreme to extreme, you're always going to be moved by whatever's happening. But when you become a point of stillness, when your vibration is so locked in that you aren't moved by the world around you, that's when you can enter a chaotic situation and literally bring the calm that you want to see, or whatever it is you want to create, right? Because from that stillness, you can create whatever you want. Again, just like that principal showing up at the chaotic classroom, when they step at the threshold, the kids straighten up if they're walking in their authority. Otherwise, if the circumstances, if the moment has the authority, there's not going to be anything the principal can do. And for us right now, a lot of us, life has that authority over us. We have given over our time, our attention, our energy to being dragged around by our situation and our circumstances. But again, that's not how God called us to move. That's not the example that Christ set, right? There were several occasions somebody told Jesus, they said, hey, this person's dead. And Jesus was like, let's go wake him up. And they looked at him like, yo, what are you talking about? Let's go wake him. Like, no, they're dead. And Jesus was like, you don't understand what life is. It's like, I am the resurrection. Like, I am the life. Like, I got this. This is easy. We need to be able to look at our own lives and look at dead situations and recognize that we can resurrect them. The last thing that we need is men walking in this sort of God creator energy, is we need to be men of peace. And I don't mean that we're harmless, right? I don't mean like we would never hurt a fly. No. I think it was Jordan Peterson who famously said that a harmless man is not a good man. A man incapable of violence is not a good man, because you can't perform one of your essential duties of a man in being a protector. How are you going to be a defender of what's right if you can't even protect yourself, right? If you don't possess the capacity for violence, if you don't have that edge in your life, how are you really going to serve anybody in that way? Now, I get it. Everybody's not built to be a soldier, right? I'd always say growing up, if I would join the service, I would have joined the Marines, but my father kind of shot that down one day in high school, right? But the fact of the matter is, you don't need to be in the military. You don't necessarily need to practice martial arts in order to develop this edge. Yes, it would be good, right? Yes, learn how to defend yourself, learn how to handle a firearm, learn how to move about the world being aware of threats, just in case something does pop off, right? But there are a lot of men today who move with this flowery, soft, like really passive energy, and it is off-putting, right? We think that that's safety, right? Like, oh, I could never hurt another human being. Bruh, like I love everybody. And if it came to it, I'll choke you with your collar. Like I've practiced, right? Shout out to my home, my jujitsu gym back home, right? But every man needs to possess that capacity, right? But it doesn't need to be the energy that you walk in all day. You don't need to go around like bullying people. That's not it. That's exactly what I'm not saying. We're not bullies. We're just not passive in life, right? We know what it takes in order to maintain peace, primarily because one, we've had to work through the violence within ourselves. We've had to bring ourselves to a place of peace within ourselves. We've had to face our shadows. And once we've done that and we've come out on the other side, the shadows of others don't bother us anymore because we know what's in that darkness. And because we sort of walk with that edge, we can then walk with this peace and this freedom, knowing that no matter what occurs, we possess the qualities and the capabilities to handle it. So I want y'all to remember those three things, man. We need to be men of integrity. We need to be who and what we say we are. We need to become men of discipline, maintaining ourselves in every area of our life, right? Not allowing the situation to dictate to us who and what it is that we're going to be. And we need to be men of peace. But the only way we reach that level of peace is first by facing the storm within ourselves. And once we've done that, right? Once we've begun to encapsulate all three of those things, the world begins to shift around us, right? And just on the note of becoming a man of integrity, you don't need to wait or you don't need to declare some big grand dream. Just as you're walking to the kitchen, say to yourself, I'm walking to the kitchen to get a cup of water, and do that. As you're going to the bathroom, say out loud, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm going to wash my hands. If you're about to go to the store, I'm going to the car, I'm going to the store, right? You begin to train your muscle just with the little things. And then you can declare the bigger things. I'm creating $5,000 a month. I'm creating $15,000 a month for my businesses. I'm going to marry this sort of person, right? My children are going to behave this way. They're going to be educated in these subjects, and whatever you want to see in your life, you can begin to call it out. Because once your world knows, right? Once the spirit sees that you are moving like God moves, it'll start to run ahead of you. You'll say, it would be nice to go to Hawaii this year. And immediately you'll get offers and different ideas, and people will bring you things that are pointing toward where it is you said you wanted to go. I tell you no lies. One of the most recent examples this happened for me. I took a trip to Florida for a poetry event. And as I'm driving back home, I had the ideas like, you know what? Probably moving to Florida would be dope. It might be cool, right? Maybe the kids would be down for it. A day, not even 2 days later, my brother calls me and was like, yo, I'm thinking about moving to Florida. Would you go with me? I didn't tell you what I was thinking, fam. I didn't tell you where I've just been. But that's how our world works. That's how life operates. When it sees that you are actually about your business and that you are moving like God moves, it doesn't just meet you halfway. It runs ahead of you to prepare the way. And y'all, if you think I'm lying, try it for yourself. And this is the energy that all men really need to be walking in, because it truly makes all the difference.